You walk into a room full of people. Within minutes, without anyone saying a word, you already know who's unhappy, who's pretending to be fine, and who's about to lose it. You don't know how you just do. Most people call it intuition, but there's a more accurate name for it. It's called traumatic intelligence. And if you had a painful or unpredictable childhood, you probably have it. You've just never known what to call it. Traumatic intelligence isn't a diagnosis. It's not something a doctor gives you. It's a set of abilities your mind quietly built when you were young because it had to. When your environment was unsafe or unpredictable, your brain didn't shut down. It adapted. It got sharper. And today, those adaptations show up as abilities that most people simply don't have. Here are 7 signs you carry them. Sign 1. You read rooms the moment you walk in. You've probably never thought of this as a skill. It just feels normal to you, but it isn't normal. Most people walk into a room and think about themselves, how they look, what they'll say. You walk in and immediately scan everyone else. You notice the couple sitting slightly too far apart. You notice the person smiling with their mouth but not their eyes. You notice the tension nobody is naming. This happened because when you were young, reading the room wasn't optional. In an unpredictable home, knowing the mood of the people around you was how you stayed safe. Your brain learned to do it automatically. What was once a survival skill is now something far more valuable, an awareness that most people spend years trying to develop and never quite get there. Sign 2. You feel other people's pain before they name it. Someone close to you says they're fine. You don't believe them. Not because you're paranoid, but because something in their voice, their posture, the way they're holding themselves, tells you a completely different story. And you're usually right. Research on trauma and emotional intelligence shows that people who grew up in emotionally unpredictable environments develop an extraordinary sensitivity to the feelings of others. You learned early that the words people say and the truth they carry are often two very different things, so you stopped listening only to words. You started listening to everything else. That's not a burden. That's one of the rarest forms of human intelligence that exists. Sign 3. You are unnervingly calm when everything falls apart. When there's a real crisis, a genuine emergency, something interesting happens to you. While everyone around you is panicking, you go quiet and focused. You know exactly what needs to happen. You make decisions clearly. People look at you and wonder how you're so calm. Here's why. Your nervous system was trained in chaos. You didn't grow up with a perfectly stable, predictable environment. You grew up having to manage stress that most adults couldn't handle. So when real pressure arrives, your body doesn't treat it as new information. It's already been there. That capacity to function under pressure, that unshakable steadiness when things break down, that was built inside you through years of surviving what should never have been yours to survive. Sign 4. You can tell when someone is lying, almost immediately. You can't always explain it, but something feels off. The story doesn't quite fit. The reaction came half a second too late. The eyes moved in the wrong direction. Most people miss these things entirely. You don't, because when you were young, reading people accurately wasn't just useful, it was necessary. You became an expert at spotting the gap between what people showed and what they actually meant. Psychologists call this hyper-attunement. You probably just call it a gut feeling, but it is far more than that. It is a finely tuned ability to detect inconsistency in words, in tone, in body language that took years to build, and that most people will never have. Sign 5. You carry a strength that even you can't fully explain. You've been through things. Real things. Things that would have broken a lot of people. And maybe did break you for a while. But you're still here, and not just surviving, functioning, thinking, showing up. There's a particular kind of strength that doesn't come from an easy life. It comes from having already faced the thing you were most afraid of and realizing you didn't disappear. Psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun spent decades studying people who went through severe trauma. What they found was that many of them developed a sense of personal strength so deep it fundamentally changed how they moved through the world. That's not resilience in the motivational poster sense. That's something earned in the hardest possible way, and it lives in you permanently. Sign 6. Your emotional memory is almost photographic. You remember how things felt in extraordinary detail, not just what happened, but the exact weight of the moment, the temperature of the room, the look on someone's face, the feeling in your chest. You remember emotional experiences the way other people remember nothing at all. This comes from how trauma shapes the brain. The part of your brain responsible for processing fear and emotion, the amygdala, encodes emotionally charged experiences with unusual depth and precision. It was designed to make sure you never forgot what danger felt like. The side effect is that you carry memories, good and bad, with a richness that most people simply don't have access to. You feel your life more deeply than average. That is not a flaw. That is depth. Sign 7. You built an entire world inside your head, and it saved you. When the outside world felt unsafe, you went inward. You developed an imagination, a rich inner life, stories, thoughts, ideas, a private place that nobody could touch or take from you. As a child, this was your shelter. As an adult, it becomes something else entirely. It becomes creativity, the ability to think differently, to see solutions nobody else sees, to connect ideas across completely unrelated things. Carl Jung observed that children who couldn't find safety in their environment often found it in the world of ideas, and that this inner refuge frequently produced some of the most original thinkers he'd ever encountered. Your inner world wasn't an escape from life. It was where you learned to understand it. Here's what I want you to take from this. Every single thing on this list started as pain. It started as a child trying to survive something that was too big for them, but somewhere in that survival, something extraordinary got built. An intelligence that can't be taught in any classroom. If you recognized yourself in this video, hold on to that. Not as an excuse for what happened to you, but as evidence of what you became because of it. The very things that hurt you the most also made you one of the most perceptive, deeply feeling, quietly powerful people in any room you walk into. And that is not a small thing. If you watched this far, I want to ask you one thing. Drop a comment below and tell me, which of these 7 signs felt the most like you? Not the one you wish was you, the one that actually stopped you for a second. I read every single comment, and if this video helped you see yourself a little differently today, consider subscribing. There's a lot more of this coming, and something tells me you'll want to be here for it.